observer's calendar for, and it better be May 2025 on episode 480 of the Actual Astronomy Podcast. I'm Chris, and joining me is Shane. We're amateur astronomers who love looking up the night sky, and this podcast is for everybody who enjoys going out under the stars. But I feel like we're recording this one early. Shane, you said something about we've got a few in the can already, so that to keep it on the right cadence, we needed to do this episode here, not even in quite mid-April yet.
Yeah, it was either record now and have it come out, I think on the 28th or something of April, or record it later and it comes out on May 5th or 6th. So
Oh,
you
I
lose a
see.
few days that way. So yeah, we're recording this on April 13th. Most of this should remain valid unless some comet stuff changes, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean that's the way it goes with comets, as we chatted about. That is the first thing here for the start of May. Is that I think the brightest this comet is forecast to be. Some models say magnitude 6.4. Some say it's going to be magnitude 4, and we'll see what happens. But it's pretty low in the morning sky or in the evening sky. But in the morning sky, starting off, we have Venus, Saturn, and Neptune all in a 5-degree circle. But again, these are only about 5 degrees up. So I think that Neptune would be tough to see. But Venus and Saturn should be pretty good in binoculars on the morning of May 1st.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome.
Then in the evening, we can get down to the comet C 2025 F2 Swan, passing the Pleiades on May 1st and 2nd. And of course, the final few days of April is when this comet will start rising into the evening sky and potentially be at its best on April 30th to May 2nd. So just going to have to wait and see what happens with this comet here. But as it goes by the Pleiades, this would be something to try to capture with a camera, I think. But man, it is going to be low down in the sky, despite how good it looks in my little screen capture there. I think it gets within about 2.5 degrees of the Pleiades.
Wow. Yeah, that hopefully perks the astrophotographer ears, because yeah,
Mm,
if this becomes visible or photographable, I don't know if that's a word, but
we can use it. We'll go with
yeah,
it.
yeah, we'll invent it. Yeah, that'll be pretty spectacular to have the Pleiades and a comet in the same field of view or that close. That'll be really neat.
Yeah, I still think, considering Shushan Atlas was at least 2 magnitudes brighter than the brightest prediction for this comet, is not necessarily the best for the visual observers out there. But we'll uh, we'll see what happens. Those initial media reports, and even in the astronomy magazines, those initial reports seem to indicate maybe it was going to be pretty good. Because I think just at this time of year, as we're losing the night, and right now, even today, um, Taurus is still fairly high. But by that time, at the end of April, beginning of May, of course, we have way, way, way more twilight than we do right now, and much more sunlight in the day. So I think between now and then, we lose the better part of an hour of darkness, if not more, maybe more like an hour and a half here. But even in more southerly climes, they will lose about an hour. So it's going to be tough, I
Hmm.
think, no matter where you are in the northern hemisphere, to try to see this. But we encourage people to get out. I just don't want to. I don't want to oversell it. I tried to see it earlier this week, as we discussed in the last podcast, and yesterday morning, and I was really not 100% sure. I even saw it when it was 12 degrees up in ninth magnitude. This is going to be 2 degrees up and potentially fourth magnitude, which is equally as difficult, I think, anyway.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Well, let's hope, but you're right. It's probably better to control some expectations, because this is not a slam dunk.
And with the Pleiades being so close, though, it gives people a fairly good shot, because if you can see the Pleiades there, and then and get your binoculars fixed on those, and then just kind of look a little bit to the right or to the northeast or northwest, then you can maybe have a better shot at getting it, simply because there's a good marker here to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Back in October, we had the Shushan Atlas for a handful of nights as well, and it was much higher and much brighter. I think the first night I saw it, it was almost -2. I think it was like -1.6, and I could see that through cloud. And I think it was 10 or 12 degrees up when the sky was completely dark. But you could see it long before the sky was, basically you couldn't see it when the sun was up. At least I never did. But, once the sun was down for 5 or 10 minutes, it was pretty easy to pick up in the sky. And as the sky got darker and darker, it was really nice and easy. But when it was second magnitude, I couldn't quite see it when it was much lower than about 5 degrees. And this comet is going to be, I think, in that zone, sadly. So we'll see.
Yeah, yeah.
May 2nd, Vesta is at opposition with a peak magnitude, this time of 5.6 magnitude. And it's a new moon period this week of May 2nd, or at least leading up to it. So possible to see this asteroid naked eye in the constellation of Libra. But you need a pretty dark sight looking south anyway. This asteroid was discovered by German astronomer Heinrich Wilhelm Matthias Olbers on the 29th of March, 1807, and named after Vesta, the goddess of home and hearth from Roman mythology. It was the fourth asteroid discovered, thus its full name, for Vesta. And at first it was classified as a planet, but then I think in the 1850s, they demoted Vesta, Ceres, Pallas, and Juno. I think those are the ones to asteroid status and now minor planet status. But 2 million years or 2 billion years ago, there was a collision and it caused meteorites to land on Earth. And they're known, Jane, I was hoping you could help me out with this, howardite, eucrite, and diogenite. Are you familiar with any of those meteorites, or have any?
Not familiar with those ones. No, I'm not sure. I don't think I do. I'd have to look at the collection, but
Mm,
none of those, none of those stand out for me.
I think they're common, it seems to indicate. I don't know too
Okay.
much about meteorites, but anyhow, those ones are from Vesta. Spacecraft Dawn visited in 2011, 2012, as Dawn made its way out to Sirius. So pretty nice and high in Libra, really almost into that little jog that comes up between Virgo and Serpents. Reasonably close to, let's see, 5, if I'm not mistaken, maybe about 8 or 9 degrees away, just from eyeballing. I put a chart in here. So, but still low enough, I think, for us, Shane. Boy, that would be tough to see naked eye. Seeing a 5.6 magnitude asteroid, star, whatever, looks like about 30 degrees up for us. So
Hmm.
binoculars. Yeah.
Yep. Yep, for
Telescope.
sure.
On May 3rd, we have, this is a neat one. We have Mars, the Moon, and the Beehive all together here. And so pretty much right in the center of Cancer, we have Mars, and just to the left of that, we have the Beehive, and then just to the left of that, we have the Moon. I think this one's going to look better the further east you are, particularly on the East Coast. You'll kind of be able to watch the moon kind of pass by them. I think it gets really close for some people, like half a degree. For us, though, it's about 2 degrees or so away from of the moon and Mars separation. Anyways, about 2 degrees as it's getting dark, and then once it's fully dark, which is when I took my screen capture there, it's maybe 2.5 degrees apart. But you can still get those in a wide field binocular, and maybe even in a really wide field telescope, be able to see those together with the Beehive.
Yeah,
Possibly,
that'll
should be pretty cool.
yeah, that'll be pretty. I like when you get some of those open clusters near, the planet or the solar system objects. It's always a nice view.
Mm. May 4th, we have the first quarter moon, and the lunar X is visible on that night. I think for just about everybody in North America can take a stab at seeing that flare obscure effect, I think, as it's called.
Yeah, we've been on a pretty good run with seeing or having the Lunar X visible, which is great. It's a fun thing to look at.
Yeah. May 4th, may the 4th be with you, Shane.
Always.
And then that should be a neat target for people to try to see tonight. So May 5th, the lunar straight wall visible, and also the Maginus Ray is visible. And what I did is I
Hmm.
took a screen capture of the moon and put where Maginus is, and then I think that ray is the thing sticking out to the right
Oh,
above.
that long line.
I think so. But anyway, people can kind of look it up. I chatted to Marie. We've been emailing. Marie's the one that came up with a whole pile of new stuff for the calendar. And as the slow wheels of volunteerism go, and she is a great and involved volunteer at both the national level and local level. I need to get her corner down to maybe write a bit of a description on each of these things instead of me just taking a stab at it. She also says M83 is well placed here during that first week of May before that moon interferes too much.
Oh, okay.
Of course, M83 is that face-on galaxy discovered by Nicholas Louis de Lacaille. I might have mentioned it last month too, now that I think about it. But it bears mentioning, I think, that this galaxy is one of those tough Messiers to see, being Messier 83 and being so low to the horizon. I don't think it's the lowest, but it's pretty close. And because it's in the spring sky, and because it's so far down here towards the horizon, um, sitting in what's the constellation sitting in? Hydra, something like that.
Okay.
Yes, I believe it's just over the border of Centaurus and Hydra, but it's almost right on the border of Centaurus, which we can hardly see any stars in from here. You really only get this week here, at least in Canada, to have a stab at seeing it. And then, of course, if you miss this and you're trying to capture all of your Messier objects, you're stuck waiting until the following year. And some people, it takes them a few years to get it because, like, particularly from here and anything further north than where we are, that's a pretty tough one to get it. It's been a number of years since I've seen it. I hope to get it this year, but that's the week before. That's it, really, to try to get it from here now anyway.
Yeah, not a lot of opportunities, so just have to hope it's clear and you can get out.
Yeah. Um, May 6th, we have the Eta Aquariid meteor shower. And, this one has an interesting ZHR zenith hourly rate.
Okay.
So we're using 50 for the calendar. But I did some quick reading, and it seems like 30 is pretty the usual. Although in 2013, I think people were getting up to 130, 135 meteors an hour out of it. So it varies quite a bit, I think is what it boils
Gee.
down to. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a big variance. Like 30 is
I know.
not too spectacular. Like you're going to see
Yeah,
a number of them throughout the night, but
yeah.
130, that changes it.
Yeah, so it varies. You can probably go and look that up if you want to see where, like on the stream we're heading this year. I think they're getting pretty good at using some radio telescopes to figure out what parts of the streams that we're going through now. But I think in 2013, either it was too early in that science, or they just didn't know, or what. It was a bit of a surprise. I guess people saw quite a few meteors that night from it.
Hmm, interesting.
Yeah, they originate from Comet Halley, just like the Orionids in October. This is sort of like the other side of the stream.
Ali made a mess of our orbital path, hey?
Ah, let me tell you. Let me tell you. May 7th, we have the jeweled handle on the moon, and that's just sort of that. It's like where I think it's like Mare Imbrium or one of those meet with some of the mountain ranges.
Okay.
Again, I gotta get Marie to get on and walk through all these sometime with us. Once we get the calendar done, which hopefully in the next month or so, we'll be able to wrap up at least that portion of it.
Hmm.
May 9th, the asteroid Metis is at magnitude 9.6 opposition, so that's not too bright, but people can hunt that one down if they would like. And on the 10th and 11th, This one is pretty neat for us here, Shane. We got the moon passing by Spica, and it's an all night thing here for us. So I sort of put what it looks like as it gets dark on the night of the 10th and 11th, and I think it's just about a full moon. Yeah, it's just the night before full moon. Well, or two, depending on how you look at it. But really, like if you go out early in the night, you'll see the moon just to the right of Spica, and then it's gonna whip underneath. And why I'm highlighting this one, maybe more so than other pairings of the moon with the stars, is that it is going to pass pretty close, within half a degree. I think around midnight or 1 a.m. for us.
Okay. Not too
And
bad then.
in Spica, when the moon is that close, and it has to get really close to see this. And I get why they put these out, but unless it's going to get real close for most people in our broadcast area, I usually don't put them in. But you'll really get that blue from Spica. But the moon has to be within about half a degree to see that. So that's worth seeing for sure. But once the moon is about once the moon is about a degree away from a star, I'll say you lose the contrast. Even if you're looking at them in the same field of view, you don't get as much of the color contrast. The closer it is, the more that contrast becomes apparent.
Okay.
Half a degree really is just about the closest where it's going to show well. Full moon is on the 12th, and May 14th asteroid Juno is at opposition, but peaking only at 10th magnitude in Serpens, the western Serpens. And so that's not overly bright, but people can track it down if they want to see that third asteroid ever discovered, found in 1804 by Harding. It's an S-type stony asteroid, which I think is one of the most common types of asteroid, and named after the highest Roman goddess. Originally, again, considered a planet along with Ceres, Pallas, Vesta, and they were all demoted in the 1850s. May 14th, 15th, the Endymion ray, sunset ray, is visible on the moon. And I put my screen capture here, but it's in the top right. The little thing denoting where Endymion is not there, but I tried. Very tippy top right of the moon, right on the shadow as it comes out of being full on the 14th or 15th. People can look it up.
Okay.
This is neat. I'm not sure if this is going to be visible or not. This is definitely more of a challenging thing. May 15th, the shadow of Titan is going to be visible transiting, and we might get it here, but certainly if you're west of here, like for those in Calgary, and if you ran a line down from Alberta more towards the west coast, you would stand a decent chance of actually seeing this transit of Titan, especially I'm going to say like in the California area is probably going to be among the most favored areas for sure. I would definitely get up early on the 15th to try to take a look at this. Pretty neat to see the shadow of Titan transiting the cloud tops, and it's right above the rings too. So that's going to be pretty cool. I put a little image there showing what it would look like from here. We don't see very much of it, and certainly not very much at all in a dark sky. But from Calgary and Alberta and BC, it's going to be in a dark sky when it starts, and you'll see a good little piece of it. And then, like from somewhere like California, they might get the whole thing or pretty close to it. And Vancouver Island, similar.
That's very interesting. I've never observed a shadow transit on Saturn before. Do you know how often Titan does this?
Time it has to. I think it's around this, like when things are lined up the way they are now. But I think this is just a once in a while kind of thing. It happens twice, but I think the other one we miss. I think it's like the 8th or the 9th. People can look it up.
Yeah, the reason I ask is I don't think this is as common as Jupiter shadow transits. So
No.
People should try to take advantage of this. And, its alignment, and, we'll have the show notes posted on actualastronomy.com so you can see these images. But the alignment of the shadow to the rings also is almost perfect, because it'll make it very easy to see where this shadow transit should be occurring, which will help you just locate it.
Yeah, just kind of Googling it really quick. I mean, it does happen. I think the problem is how and when it's visible. It just has to, it's more finicky than the yeah, I mean it's probably best every 15 years. It looks like, just like scanning things here. These ones started in November, kind of missed those, but regardless, um, there were a few that occurred last year that were well placed, and then again we have this one. And I think there's one towards the end of the month, but I don't think it was visible at all here. But like you said, worth aiming for. See if you can get it.
Hmm.
Got to get up early though, Shane.
Well, that's always a challenge for me, at least.
Yeah, it can be a little disappointing too. And I was up when I was up trying to observe the comet the other morning. I managed to totally wreck my my laptop plug. I plugged in my laptop, and it even has like the MagSafe and easy disconnect and the whole bit. And
Mhm.
I caught it like the one in the million way that you can hook your foot in the cable, that you would only do at 4 o'clock in the morning, to pull my laptop off the table I had it on onto the carpet. Fortunately, didn't do any damage to it, and then bent the prongs on the little adapter. So I had to buy a new one.
Mhm.
It was quite bad.
Yikes.
Yeah, those early mornings, got to watch out. May 20th, last quarter moon, and this time Mare Orientale is a nice visible feature on the moon. That one looks pretty good. Last quarter means that it's not going to be in the early evening sky so much. But if you're out in Campbell River, maybe and looking for a target to show the public, that would be a neat one to show if possible.
Hmm.
May 22nd, the moon and Saturn and Neptune is there too, but the moon and Saturn get well within 5 degrees of each other. In fact, they're about 3 degrees apart from here, a little bit better the further west you go from here. So Alberta, BC, and the closer you would be to sort of more the west coast of the US, the better that's going to be to see the moon passing by Saturn. I think by the time you get to the very west coast, the moon will be right over top of Saturn just before the sky brightens. May 23rd. This one here is a globular cluster. I don't think I've seen this one before. NGC 5986. This is a Friday morning. I'm supposed to be off that morning, and but I'm going to attend a session. But I might come out here and do some observing and try to see if I can see that, find a spot, looking due south to see that globular cluster. It was discovered by James Dunlop in 1826, and he was observing from Australia. So that's how far south you got to be. It has a magnitude of 7 and is about 10 arc minutes in diameter. You need a fairly decent telescope to see it. I'm going to say might be possible with my 7-inch refractor if we get a good dark morning there, and we should. That's getting pretty close to new moon, but I know that's the weekend that I think Mike and a few of the others are planning to go down to Grasslands, so should be able to have a decent shot of seeing that another degree up from where I'm at anyway.
Hmm.
May 27th, that's new moon. And what's neat about this is I think it's new basically just after midnight. And that makes it possible to see this super, super thin crescent. And if you check the show notes, Shane, with it's just this black circle floating in almost a peach colored twilight sky, but it is well up. I think that it's 5 degrees high when the sun sets. And that means that it's about 3 degrees when the sky is getting decently dark enough to be able to see Jupiter just to the left. And then this moon is going to be below I think it's about a third magnitude star, which is Elnath there.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be worth seeing. I can't remember the age of it, but it's going to be less than 24 hours. And I think like maybe about 16 hours old or something like that.
Hmm.
Neat opportunity anyway.
Hmm.
Also towards the end of the month, on the again on the 27th, the carbon stars V Ophiuchi and S Scuti are going to be at their best on the evening of the 27th. And then that week, and I just put that in for this week. Omega Centauri is well placed. Of course, even at its culminating point, it remains about 5 or 6 degrees below our horizon here. But if you're in the States and you're at about 40 degrees north latitude or south of there, then of course that puts it 2 or 3 degrees above the horizon, and that places it within the chance of visibility, at least for an hour or so. So I'd be curious to know the most northerly observer that's going to observe Omega Centauri. That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
May 31st, Venus is at greatest elongation in the morning sky, but it's not a good one. This one is not very well placed. But that morning, the best thing to look at, or I suppose, sorry, this will be in the evening on the 31st. In the morning on the 31st, we got the greatest elongation of Saturn, or Venus, being 40 degrees from the sun. But that, I think it's just not well placed the way that it aligns this time. But in the evening sky, we have this lineup of Regulus, Mars, and the moon. And it's going to be lined up for a few nights from the 31st into the first week of June. I think that's going to look like a neat thing to take a photograph of and to observe with binoculars.
Yeah. Anytime we have those alignments, it's fun. And often binoculars are best just because they're a little bit of a wider field.
Yeah. So that's what I have this month. Lots of interesting stuff there. Shane, not sure if you have anything to add to this episode.
No, the only thing I'll say is that, especially for us, again, a little further north, May sort of represents the last opportunity to do some dark sky observing until, end of July almost, because of almost perpetual twilight that starts to develop in June. So I'm hoping to get out as much as I can.
Yeah, I hope so as well. Hopefully you can come out here and we can take advantage of the 7-inch refractor and maybe do some observing. That'd be awesome if you're able to carve out the time.
Yeah, exactly. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Anything else?
That is all.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Please be sure and share our podcast with any other astronomers that you know. And you can send us your ideas, observations, and questions to actualastronomy@gmail.com.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the show. If you are interested in more information, would like to contact us, or if you would like to support the podcast, check out our website, actualastronomy.com.